What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is such a highly requested one, and it has been highly requested since the day I started on my home renovation, and it is all about the budget of my home renovation. If you've been following me for the past year, it's actually been a year since I started talking about buying a house, closing on the house, doing the renovation. So you guys have been with me for a year following this journey. It's coming full circle, and now we are talking about the budget now that everything is said and done and it is out of my hands. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I will have all of the videos about my home renovation linked down below. I highly suggest that you watch the before and after video because it is definitely an incredible transformation. And it is a huge transformation. This was not your DIY home renovation. It was not a tiny home renovation where you just kind of like paint and change the cabinets. Like, this was a 100% complete gut renovation of a 1950s home, and I was just so excited to document the entire process. And it was my first home that I purchased and renovated, so I had to share the journey with you. I also wanted to add a disclaimer that this is not a video where I am bragging. This is not a video where I am just sharing numbers for the sake of sharing numbers. This has been my most requested video for literally since I bought my house. If you are not in the home renovation world, if you've never done it before, if you don't have family or friends that have done it before, it can be really confusing to know, like, how much does it cost? Like, what does it cost? I am incredibly lucky. I have family that is in the construction business, so this is what they do for a living. I'm very thankful because if I did not have them, I would feel so lost in this process. So I kind of want to transfer any knowledge that I have from them to you guys, because I know most people don't have family or people in their life that will give them this information. So I really hope that these videos help. Okay guys, so I wrote everything down. I wrote it all down because there was so much information, and I wanted to make sure that this was concise, to the point, gave you the information you wanted to hear. So let's just get into it. The purchase price of the home was $395,000. That was the offer that I had given, that was the offer that was accepted, and that was the purchase price of the home. I knew that there was gonna be a lot of renovations going into it, but I knew that it was gonna be a big project, and I was so excited. This wasn't gonna be like a little DIY project. Like, this was gonna be a full-scale home renovation. My target budget for the renovation was $189,000. That is what I had thought we were going to spend on home renovations, and that is what I had projected. Always account for a little bit of, you know, increase in the budget, because you just never know what's going to happen, and these numbers are not set in stone. How I created that budget was I made an Excel spreadsheet, and like I said, my family is in the construction business. We already had these templates, and my parents know the cost of materials and labor and all of that stuff, which is why I highly recommend, if you are doing a home renovation at this scale and doing it with, you know, laborers and people coming in and doing a renovation on your home, definitely have a general contractor come in to tell you how much the home renovation is going to cost you. It is not something that you can just eyeball and kind of look around for on the internet. It is something that you need an expert to come in and tell you. So I will say that it's not something necessarily that you can do on your own unless that you're familiar with renovations, if you're doing something at this scale. This is where you 100% need an expert, and you 100% need a general contractor to come in. What I really ended up spending was $225,000 on the home renovation, which is $36,000 over budget. I mean, I know that you should account for going over budget, but this was 20% over budget. So I definitely didn't think I would go 20% over budget, but I'll let you know in a little bit why I did go 20% over budget and what those setbacks were. Now I'm gonna break down some of the highest costs, just for you to know what is probably going to cost you a lot of money if this is something that you're planning on doing on your home. I want you to take a guess on what you think the highest cost is going to be, and then I'm gonna tell you what the highest cost is. Pause the video, write it in the comments. The highest costs were the cabinet. The total for the cabinets was $28,000, and in our original budget, we had it so that I would spend $14,000 on cabinets, not $28,000. So literally it doubled. The reason for this is because, if you guys hadn't heard on the news, the price of labor and materials in the construction industry skyrocketed. And cabinets, because of the wood, because of the labor, because of the materials of the cabinets, it just went up by so much that it was a very unexpected expense. Good thing the cabinets look good, because if they didn't and then you also spent that much money, like, oh my goodness. Another really high cost was the framing. That was to be expected, but the framing did cost $25,700. If you would like to see the framing process, I actually did an entire video of what the house looked like during the framing process. So I will have the link down below, but you guys can see a house tour of the framing. And then I think you'll understand why it did cost $25,700. Also keep in mind, all of these numbers include labor. This is not just the materials, this is also the labor that is included. So also keep in mind that if you are doing this yourself, things are gonna be cheaper because you're not paying for labor, but then you're not also getting that expertise. So keep in mind that all of these numbers include the price of labor plus the cost of materials. The wood floors were the third most expensive thing in the house, and they cost $11,800, and then the drywall cost $10,700. So really the things that were just all around the house cost a ton of money, which is to be expected. And then of course there were a ton of other costs in between that I thought that this video would be an hour long if I got into all of them. So I wanted to show you kind of like the big ticket items and the things that were really, really expensive. Also, if you asked me before I ever did this, I would not even give you a ballpark for what I think like wood floors would cost. Like, I literally had no idea until I sat down and did it line by line and actually talked to people who knew better than me and were experts in this. You just like, I don't know, when are you talking about like the price of wood or like the price of drywall? Like, you're never, that stuff isn't talked about, so it's not really common knowledge about how much that stuff is going to cost. Also, of course, it just determines on the type of materials you use. Some things are more expensive than others, and also how big the renovation is going to be. Closing costs from when I purchased the home plus my monthly mortgage payments total up to $415,632. So around $415,000 is what the closing costs with my monthly mortgage payments were. The renovation total cost, as I said earlier, was $225,000. Staging cost, $3,400, which is a lot, but it's cheaper than lowering the price of your home because it's not selling. So keep that in mind. Real estate fees cost $44,220. I feel like people do not think of real estate fees when they're purchasing a house, and it's very expensive. So they cost $44,220. Closing fees and taxes cost $5,835,000, which makes the grand total of this home $694,087. I did get a mortgage for the cost of my house, so I did not just dish out $400,000 right then and there. I did put 20% down, and I have an entire video on how I saved and, you know, just talking about purchasing a home and loans and all of that. So I will have that video linked down below if you're interested in that, but that's also something to keep in mind. This isn't all cash that I just gave up front, especially for the cost of the home. I did take out a loan. So now it brings me to the profit and the sale of the home. I sold the house for $737,000, and then that makes profit to be $42,913. I know that was the biggest question about how much did it sell, how much was the profit, what was the budget, so I hope that that answered any of your questions. And now I wanted to answer any more questions and help provide the most value and tell you guys what I've learned and what I know in this process. Even though obviously it is my first home, I feel like I just want to provide as much value as possible. So let's just get into the question. One of the biggest questions I got asked, were there any setbacks? And the answer is yes. In construction, there are always setbacks, but especially when you were building a house during COVID, and even now, I mean, we're still struggling with supply chain issues and things are delayed, and the cost of labor and materials is so incredibly high. I would say that those were our biggest setbacks. We ended up finishing the house, I believe, 1.5 to 2 months after expected because of the delays. I mean, things just were not shipping in time. People ran out of materials. Things were just backed up. So it did take longer than we had expected. Also, the cost of labor and the cost of materials went up tremendously during the months that the house was being renovated. So that's another thing to note, is that those were the setbacks, and those things can happen. So you always have to make sure that you account for those things. Another question that I got asked is, how did I determine the price of the house? Like, how did I get set on $737,000? I do want to do a video again, like I said, about things that I learned and things that I wish I knew. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about pricing of the house. But the price of the house when it sold was $735,000, but we did have 2 offers on it, and so we went with the one that was $737,000. How you determine the price of a home, though, is a lot about the market. It's actually all about the market, your realtor should do a market analysis on your neighborhood. This is going to show what the houses in your neighborhood are selling for. And it's going to give a lot of details. It's going to give details on how big are the houses, things like that, so you can see the average price of a home in your neighborhood. And then another thing to look at is the average price per square foot with houses that are similar to yours. So you have to take that into account. What house is similar to yours and what is the price of the price per square foot? And the other question that I got is, how did I know that it would be profitable? Short answer is you don't. You don't know if something's going to be profitable. I mean, when you invest, investing is a risk. You could lose all your money. So it's not something that is like, oh, I'm going to do this because I know I'm going to make money, because I very well could have lost my money. However, you can make educated assumptions, figure out the likelihood if it's going to be profitable or not. So what I did, like I said, is I went in beforehand. I did a budget of everything I wanted to do, how much I thought it would cost. With that, what I think it would have sold for based on the market analysis and based on everything that I was going to be doing to the house. And so that's what I did. And again, I can't stress this enough, but you need an expert to tell you that. If you are doing a big renovation and it's kind of like a house flip, it's really like all of these HGTV shows that show you how fun it is to, you know, knock down walls and do things yourself is nice, but you need an expert to come in and give you a estimated budget on what it is going to cost you, because this is not something you can just look up and guess, and you don't want to be at the end of it realizing like, oh my god, this cost me so much more money, I can't even finish this renovation. So please hire a general contractor to come in and do that for you if you are doing a gut renovation, because don't even take this video as like, oh, floors cost me $11,000. Like, get an expert. By my estimates and my projection, I was confident that it would be profitable, especially with the market being as hot as it was. I hope that this video helped. I hope that it gave you insight on how much it does cost to fully renovate a home, especially not doing it yourself. I just can't stress that enough, because I see on YouTube like all of these DIY renovations, which I wish I could do, but everything was hired out. And so I hope that this gave you insight if you were to do like a big remodel like the one that I did. I really hope that if you haven't seen the before and after already, you go and you check it out down below. I'll have everything linked. See the before tour, see the after tour, see the framing one, all of that good stuff, because I'm telling you, it is such an insane transformation. So thank you so much for listening to me on this topic. I'm gonna do a podcast episode on this too, where I actually bring in my sister. A lot of you guys were asking, did I pay Chloe? Yes, I didn't include that in like the profit or anything, but yes, I did pay Chloe out of my profit. She didn't work for free, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope that it was insightful, provided value. Let me know anything that you were surprised about, not surprised about, your thoughts, anything that you wish you knew before you did your home renovation, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.